So in today's video, I'm just going to share with you some of my likes and dislikes about living in Hungary after all these years. If you have been following my channel, you know that I live in Hungary and I have been living here for some time now. So I think I would like to share with you some topics from my perspective. However, I'll be doing this like a get ready with me video style. Yeah, you know, there's a saying that women are better multitaskers than men. So let me put it to the test today. Most of my likes and dislikes will be narrowed down to Budapest. Okay, so Budapest is the capital city of Hungary and it's a metropolitan city. It's very urbanized and it has so many people from all over the world. Now, one of the reasons why I like living in Budapest, and I like Budapest, first of all, which I have been saying a lot, has to do with the transportation. In terms of transportation, Budapest is very, very navigable with Google Maps, with whatever application you're using to track transportation is very good. The transportation system here is so good that you can really rely on the transportation system. The buses, the trams, they're pretty tidy. I know I've heard Hungarians complain sometimes, especially about the tram 46, that is quite messy and all of that. But honestly, relatively, coming from where I'm coming from, the trams are okay, they're cool. It's just that sometimes you may find some occasional homeless people who are in the trams, and sometimes you just have to hold your breath for the entire duration of the journey. But aside that, the transportation system is good, the Google Maps are good, the bus. Of course, I've heard and I've seen memes and complaints about the trains that are going outside Budapest, outside Hungary. But when it comes to Budapest, the transportation system is very good and you can rarely get lost in Budapest. Like, the city goes around itself, so even if you feel you are lost, just keep walking. You're going to appear at a place you actually know, like, oh, I know this is the act. Okay, this is the act. Okay. So you can never really get lost in Budapest. The mapping systems are good, they're great, and that's one of the things that I like about living in Budapest. Now, the next thing I like about living in Budapest is that most people speak English here. Of course, Hungarian language is the language of Hungarians, and of course that is one of the main ways of communicating. But in Budapest, like I did say, Budapest is pretty much a metropolitan city, so there's a lot of expats, there's a lot of foreigners living in Budapest, people coming here for school, people coming here to work, people marrying into Hungary, and people from all over. So English is widely spoken. You can pretty much sustain your life here in Hungary without speaking in English, without speaking Hungarian. Of course, I recommend learning the language of any society you find yourself in, because that's one of the ways you can integrate. I know I've said it so many times. There's been times where I've been told, oh, you have to go to this office and do this, but you need to go with a translator, you need to go with this. But I always find a way to go about it my own. I've been here for so long, and I've not been anywhere with a translator, in all honesty. So yeah, I'm able to navigate. Even when I'm speaking to my GP, she can speak some English. We try to have an understanding. So English is widely spoken. You can go about your duties. You can even work. Most of the companies, which are multinational companies here, the company language is English, so you end up speaking English most of the time. So English speaking here is widely accepted, especially also with the younger generation. They speak English, so it's easy. It's pretty much easy to communicate, live your life here in Hungary. Also, there are so many parts. There are so many places where you'd go to, and the signs are also translated in English. You know, maybe you'd see a sign, you see a piece or a billboard or whatever, and then you find some English attached. So you see some instructions in Hungarian about how to do something, and then right under it you'd see an English translation. Even sometimes you'd see a German translation as well. So you're able to do a lot with the English language in this country. One of the reasons why I also like Hungary is that it's one of the primary locations of so many thermal baths in the world. Yes, Hungary can boast of having so many thermal baths, natural hot springs in the country, and these thermal baths are very therapeutic. They are natural and they have tremendous health benefits for your body. They come with so many natural minerals in the water, and there are so many thermal baths around. There's the Lukács, there's the Rudas, there's the Veli Bay. I hope I'm pronouncing it well, but I just like the thermal bath. I had to chip it in there. I really love the thermal bath. I love to go there, especially in winter. But the last time I went there was in summer. It was in summer, and I was like, okay, who goes to thermal bath in summer? Because it's hot already. But I did enjoy that summer hot bath. Now the next thing I'll talk about, which also circles back to pretty much my second topic about the English speaking foreign culture. Like there's a lot of foreigners in here who speak English, etc. So there's pretty much a very vibrant expat life in here. There's so many expats here. There's so many events that are organized by expats, for expats, of course, for also for Hungarians. But there's so many socialization opportunities that you can find in Hungary because of the foreigners in here, and a vibrant, very vibrant nightlife here in Hungary. There's so many clubs, there's so many places you can go to, so many bars, cinemas, recreational centers, just so many you can actually go to and just enjoy yourself. It's one of the reasons why I love living here, because of the vibrant nightlife. So you're not even scared when you're out alone at night. Let's say maybe you have to come from a late shift at work, or you're traveling and you have to catch an early flight, so you're leaving the house at 4 a.m. ish, or you're going to do something and you have to leave home early, or you went out and you're coming back at 2 a.m. In Budapest, it's pretty safe generally. Of course, every country has its ups and downs where you may have people who may not be the best, but generally Budapest is livable. And also at night you can navigate a lot of things. And also at night we have the tram 46, especially if you live around the tram lines. And even if you don't live around the tram lines, catching the 46 can get you somewhere. The 46 is like a 24-hour transportation system. It moves all the way from the Buda side to the Pest side. You can catch it every time of the day. In the mornings, it has its peak hours, of course. Now the next reason why I also like Budapest is that it has so many tourist attraction sites. Okay, so if you watch some of my older videos, you'd see that I've been posting about some of the places to visit in Budapest. You can visit the Fisherman's Bastion, you can visit the Buda Castle, you can visit the St. Istvan's Basilica, you can visit you can just maybe go to their friends and just have a look at the Budapest Eye, walk around the Danube, the Liberty Bridge, the Széchenyi Bridge, Margaret Island. Hungary is so rich in culture. They preserve so much of their culture and heritage, and you find statues of relevant people from the past and important people that are linked to their history. And you can learn a lot about the Hungarian history, and most of these things I'm talking about, you can access them for free. Of course, during the summer sometimes they may charge a few euros or Hungarian forints, but generally, especially in the winter, most of these are free. And even in the summer, I can arguably say that most of these are free. You don't have to pay so much to see some things. You can just walk along the Danube, on either side of town, and you would see so many beautiful and historical facts about the country. Even when you're a student and you have to pay for some of these things, you have some kind of discount if you are a student, if you're an elder in society. So these are also opportunities you can take advantage of, especially if you are a student. I did take advantage of some of these things when I was a student, but of course now I ain't no student no more. But I'm still a student of life, because life is teaching moi. Another reason why I like living in Hungary, Hungary is pretty much located in the central part of Europe. Some people refer to Hungary as Eastern Europe and some as Central Europe, but definitely we know Hungary is not in Western Europe. Okay, now it's located in the very central part of Europe, and with Hungary being a part of the Schengen region, it gives you access to several parts of Europe which are in the Schengen region. Once you have a valid Hungarian residency or a residence card, you can travel all around the Schengen region. Okay, so that is one of the reasons why I love Hungary. There are also pretty cheap flights you can find. Of course, there are the Lufthansa's and whatever. RegioJet is not in the air, but there are pretty cheap flights all over you can find. There's also different transportations and regional buses you can use. There's a flex bus, there's the RegioJet, and then there's also the regular trains that you can pick and then get to other countries all around the Schengen. Aside that, there are also flights you can pick. Of course, you can always do your Wizz Air and Ryanair and get to another part of Europe within 2 hours maximum. Okay, so Hungary is pretty accessible. That's if you are going by flight, but of course if you're traveling from Hungary to like Eastern Germany, it can take up to 14 hours or even the whole day, especially if there's some transfer and layovers in the journey. But that aside, once you live in Hungary and you have access to the residence card, because you have a valid permit, you're able to travel freely to all the other Schengen regions in the country. So that's also one of the reasons I enjoy living in Hungary. It's located in a very central location, and so it's like it's surrounded by so many European countries and it's easily accessible. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why I like living in Hungary. Now, there's so many other reasons why I like living in Hungary, and when I can't think of any more off the top of my head, but let's just deep dive into some of the things I do not like so much about Hungary. Not that it matters to anybody, but it's just me sharing it. Of course, they'll say if you don't like it, go back to your country. So one thing I'd like to talk about is the increasing cost of living in Hungary. Okay, Hungary lately has become quite expensive, and I think I noticed also that this surge in expense happened post-COVID, or maybe towards the end of COVID. Things got very, very expensive. You know what happens when you know how economics work. The higher the demand, the less the supply. The higher the demand usually leads to less supply, and the higher the supply, it usually leads to less demand. Okay, so what happened was there were so many housing became quite affordable during the COVID regions, and people could easily rent very nice houses for cheap. Now, what did it lead to? Many people had to revise some of their rent prices and all of that, just so that they can get people to live in there, because people were not coming into the country. Now, COVID got over, and then life started to return to normal. People started to increase their prices, and of course they are increasing their prices. Yes, the minimum wage in Hungary compared to the minimum wage in Germany or some of the other Western European countries, and even the US, cannot be compared. But imagine somebody coming from US, okay, and then you tell them that, oh, this flat costs 500 euros. Like, oh, this is so cheap, because 500 euros or 500 USD to an American who is coming probably from New York is like, wow, this is cheap, because they're getting maybe even 2 rooms or a very big hall or whatever. But you cannot say the same thing to a Hungarian who is earning, what, 200,000 for it a month, okay? So many of these things led to an increase in prices, and then the locals couldn't even afford it and everything. So the cost of living post-COVID just changed. And also these wars around the countries also led to an increase in prices for gas, electricity, and whatnot. I remember my landlord coming one winter, and it was like, the gas cost has changed, and then he increased the rent and everything. And it was not just our landlord, it was happening all across the country, honestly. So cost of living since then has been increasing. The exchange rate is crazy. I think the euro to Hungary rate is like over 412 or 415. It's like it's just rocketing. And you know, even though Hungary does not spend the euro, we are definitely linked to the euro in a way. So you can imagine inflation, cost of living, things have become pretty expensive. And if you're a local, you feel it a lot more, because you're earning in foreign and the exchange rate is not favorable. But maybe if you're coming from Western Europe or you're coming from America or wherever, you'll be like, oh, okay, so cheap. It's crazy, because nowadays some of the prices of groceries are the same as prices in Germany or in Belgium or whatever. So yeah, the cost of living nowadays has been very on the high side. Now, the next thing I also would say I don't like so much about living in Hungary, I have covered in some of my previous videos, is the changing laws in the country. Like in the last 2 years in a row, every year there's a changing law about immigration, okay? And of course, it is a valid reason for the country, because they are doing it for their country to thrive. At the end of the day, every country focuses on their citizens first, and we can already see what is happening in the UK, Canada, US, New Zealand, Australia. You know, so many countries are just tightening their immigration policies and everything. So in the last 2 years, every 1st of January, there's a new law in Hungary. So it's like, it makes you question your stability, your long-term stay here in Hungary. So that's one of the things that I really don't like. Honestly, I don't even know, maybe next year they would also change the laws again, or even later this year. But sometimes it leads to a lot of uncertainty. Maybe you have planned to do some things after maybe 1 year or 2 years of staying here. You like to do something or apply for a different kind of visa, and then there's a law that comes to say, oh, you cannot apply for this kind of visa because your salary does not reach this threshold, or because you haven't proven or provided a letter from your company that says they actually really need you and they couldn't find any Hungarian, or maybe they've changed the visa type and this visa type can no longer be granted to people from your country, only some specific countries, and yeah, it can just distort your plans and everything. So the changing laws, I would say, is one of the reasons I don't like it from the perspective of an expat. But of course, maybe if I was a citizen, a Hungarian citizen, I'm like, yes, Hungarians first. Valid. Another thing I like to talk about Hungary is this public display of affection. For public display of affection, at this point I'm just indifferent, okay, because everybody does it. People are in the road smooching, kissing. You see old people with gray hair doing it, you see young teenagers doing it, you see millennials, Gen Zs, everybody kissing, hugging, touching, not caring about anything in the world. That's not the point I'm coming to. I'm just coming to talk about public, how do I even put it, public easing of self, easing self in public. Like the last time I was just walking across the street, I could hear water dripping. Like, you know, when it's raining and there's water coming from the small pipe and it's hitting. I was like, it's not raining, so where is this water coming from? I just turned and then I looked and I saw this woman in between two cars, literally with her pants down, peeing. And it was around 7 p.m, 8 p.m. And people were just passing and this woman was just peeing in between cars. I'm like, what is happening? And then the very next day, I was just walking to this event and then I saw this man also just peeing. There was this porta potty and he was standing outside the porta potty peeing. Probably the porta potty was locked because it was a weekend. Maybe the workers who used it had locked. I don't know. But he was just peeing there, right there. I was like, what is this? And also sometimes you will see poop. Yes. And it's not dog poop. It's not human. It's not dog excreta or animal excreta, it's human excreta. Like you see it packed in the middle of the road. You will just be walking, having a nice day, just enjoying the sun, even though the sun is not heating you up in winter. You're just walking and then you just glance and there's this big pile of stick. I'm like, what? And it's just packed in the middle of the road. And I think Hungary has one of the highest population of dogs in the country compared to other European and even other countries in the world. So there's a lot of people have dogs in Hungary and people are walking their dogs all the time. I don't have a dog, but like in such situations you have to really be careful because you know dogs will just be sniffing and taking things on the ground even without thinking. You know, as a dog, if you're a dog walker, you have to be very careful when you are walking your dog in Hungary because the dog is likely going to pick up something from the street. I used to have this friend, and then he used to live in this part of Hungary, but he moved to another part. He was like, why did you move from this part? He was like, too much dog shit. His was dog shit. Like you wake up in the morning, you just want to have a good day. Then you're seeing these nasty things sometimes. I know there are people who clean the streets all the time. I wonder how they deal with that because, like, how are you going to deal with that? Are you going to pick it up, use water? Like how? You know, because sometimes it's not hard like that. Why am I even describing this? Anyway, yes. Let's skip. I remember there was this part of there's this back street near the Central Market Hall. I used to see a lot of that there. Like between the back of Corvinus and that Central Market Hall. I don't know how that situation is, but I remember walking there and literally holding my breath till I left the place. But yeah, sometimes I see these and then I'm like, it just can destroy your appetite. Probably even spoil your day because you want to wake up with good vibes, you know. Now the next thing I don't like so much about Hungary is the harsh winters. Okay, Hungary is one of the countries where you can actually literally experience clearly all the 4 different seasons: winter, spring, summer, and fall. All you gotta do is call and now. Oh, this is winter, this is autumn, this is summer, this is spring. I really like that you can actually differentiate where you are also really differentiate between the long nights, the short nights, like the solstice, the equinox here and there. And winters in Hungary can be very harsh. We're currently in February, so we're gradually coming into spring. But the winters can get very cold. For example, yesterday I was out in town and I didn't have gloves on and also my phone a lot, and I ended up with very biting tips of my fingers. It was just so cold outside. It can get very cold, like double digits in the minuses. Yes, that's how bad the winters can get. Yes, it gets very cold. Sometimes it's just biting cold. Sometimes it's so windy in the winter. Sometimes it's just dry and Yeah, and also same in sometimes also in the summers it goes like 40 and above, late 30 degrees, 40s. It can get very, very warm. Honestly, my favorite season of the year is around autumn and also spring. These two parts, when it's not so hot, when it's not so cold, you know, you can dress lightly, dress up and show off. But I know in these winters, we're literally covering everything. I remember in COVID, when winter, it was crazy. Literally all you could see was people's eyes. Yes, because you are draped down from head to toe with your hat, with your scarf, with your jacket, with your jeans or your trousers and your shoes. So your hands are also gloved up. You have the mask on, so it's just your eyes. So I was like, okay, I understand why people are almost naked in the summer, okay? Because like you've covered yourself all winter. And then summertime, it's time to show some body, time to show some skin. I'm like, people, so much for the guys. Guys be suffering a lot in the summer, but you have to allow the girls because they have been suffering in the winter. I know the guys as well have also been. So usually in the winter, in the summer, that's when you see people displaying their tattoos. People are getting new tattoos and then they're showing it off. Some guys are even literally walking bare chested with just vest. And yeah, I like the summer, but I love autumn. See, I'm using the wrong thing. I love autumn and then I love spring the most. So hash winter. So yeah, remember I said I like one thing I like about Hungary is that there's English availability in most places. However, there are some places where there's no English availability and this can be sometimes very difficult to navigate. Sometimes you may need some help with a call center, or you may need to do something and then you call this call center and then there's just in Hungarian, and they are not able to communicate. So where the English is working, it is working, but where the English is lacking, you are on your own and you have to find ways and means. Maybe use Google Translate, do whatever. Anyway, yeah. So just to add to the winter situation, the fact that, you know, you really experience long nights and short days, especially during the winter. It can be very, very depressing. Yep, it can be very depressing out here, especially if you're not living here with your family. Maybe you came here for school, you came here just to work, you came here just to do one or two things and go back. It can really get depressing, especially in the winter, because it's number one, it's so cold, and then it's starting to get dark at about 3 p.m. Okay, 3 p.m, 3:30, it starts to get dark. Now I also live in an apartment which is pretty much almost on the ground floor, and so even when the sun is shining, it doesn't even get here. And imagine how it can be in the winters when there's no sunshine at all. So it can really get depressing, especially with the long nights. Like it's 7 p.m. and you look outside and it's pitch black, like it's 1 a.m. in the morning. So yeah, these are some of the things that are associated with winter in Hungary that makes it very, very depressing. But then also you also face the counter opposite in summer, because sometimes in summer the sun can be shining as far as 9 p.m, even almost 10ish. So yeah, it can also make your sleeping pattern a bit confused. You can even get a bit confused with your sleep schedule, because you're going to sleep and it's so bright outside. So it can also disturb your sleeping pattern, especially in the summer, because you're going to sleep, right, and then it's so bright outside. So in that case, I'm usually advising just invest in like a blackout curtain just to black your room out so that you can sleep and not think, oh, the sun is shining, it's okay, I can do more. And then you realize that, okay, you haven't slept, it's like 1 a.m. and then you have to wake up at 6 the next day. So I'm going to quickly finish up this makeup, come back, and then we round everything off, okay? So hi guys, this is the finished look finally. I hope you enjoyed this video. Kindly share in the comment section below anything you also find yourself liking and disliking if you're living in Hungary, or even if you're living in any other part of the world and you can relate with some of the things I've already mentioned in this video. Kindly drop it in the comment section. Thank you so much for sticking and staying. Stick and stay for the next video. Until then, it's bye.